So Michigan State won 53-49. It was not a barn burner of an offensive showcase at all. Malik Hall finishes with 15 points and 17 rebounds. Fantastic game for him on senior night. He was all out, all effort. Just a fantastic job by him and Tyson Walker as well. But you could really see the entire game how much those Michigan State seniors wanted it in this game, and for everything that they have had and the disappointing season they've had. And even with the disappointing season, they're still probably going. I mean, we'll ask Jason later about it, but they're still probably going to the NCAA tournament. So that's just how things work out at Michigan State. But Sonny, let's start with you first. What were some of your thoughts on this game?
Not exactly an advertisement for quality college basketball, that game. I just joked around on Twitter saying, seeing a final score 53-49 kind of makes me realize how much I have to appreciate this Illini team a little bit more. But, for me, I was just kind of passively watching it. Obviously, the result mattered to Illinois fans. With Northwestern losing, that basically locks us in to the number 2 seed in the upcoming Big Ten tournament. So really the result in our final game at Iowa is not going to matter so much. So that's kind of what was most important to me. It's always nice to win on senior day. Illinois was not able to do it yesterday. At least the Michigan State boys were able to. And, I know that probably didn't make you too happy with your season-long, dare I say, hatred of the Spartans and them making it to the tournament. But we'll see.
I don't hate the Spartans. I just am not on the bandwagon that everybody else is. And it annoys me that they're 18-12 and they're like top 20 in KenPom. That annoys me so much because honestly, it was what Ohio State was going through last year. And I knew that Ohio State team was not nearly that good, but that's just kind of how it goes. So Jason, your thoughts on the Michigan State Northwestern game?
Yeah, I thought in a lot of ways that the Michigan State game is actually a microcosm of Michigan State all year. They should be a little bit better, and they shouldn't be kind of messing around with teams that they're much more talented than. They enter the season as a top 5 team, and the reality is they're doing just enough to get by. They're going to do just enough to make the NCAA tournament, and they did just enough to get it done tonight. That win probably puts them in. They're going to make the tournament. Their metrics have kind of, gone along just fine. What's really interesting about Michigan State is not only living up to their hype kind of preseason, but predictive metrics. So that's kind of the metric system, not to dive too deep, but the metric systems that anticipate how you're going to be in the future. Those consistently say that Michigan State is around 15 to 20 in the country. The reality is the resultant-based metrics, strength of record of what they've already done, says they're about 45 to 50. And so just like today, it was anticipated they'd win by double digits or so, just a shade under that. The reality is they just scraped by.
Yeah, I think I saw KenPom had them 8-point favorites, like 75-67 or something like that. And, they obviously did not score 75 in this one. But, Jason, I'm interested. You said that with this win, Michigan State pretty much secures them in. If they did lose tonight, let's just play the what-if game. How dangerous do you think it would have been for Michigan State to not make the tournament?
Yeah, really good question. When you hear Michigan State, the brand, all those things, and their metrics look okay, 4 quad 1 wins. But if you kind of really zoom in and look at those, all they really have is a neutral win over Baylor, and that was in Detroit, so fairly, quasi-neutral. Obviously, the home win against Illinois, which is a very good one. But their third best win overall for their whole season with regard to the net is a home win over Indiana State. Now, Indiana State can really score. Indiana State's very good, probably going to make the tournament maybe as an at-large. The reality is that's not that strong of a resume. You pair that with 12 losses, that gets to 13. They lose in the Big Ten, 14. And anytime you get more than 14 losses in a season, you're not making the NCAA tournament. So it was really critical to keep that loss off the team sheet. And again, stay away from that 14-15 loss category.
So
yeah, I think it was
curious, Jason.
Go ahead, Sonny.
Sorry, JR. Why is Michigan State so high in the metrics? Because I can't really figure it out either. You listed off their best names.
Yep.
Like their victories. And obviously, I'm not a math guy whatsoever. And I don't look at the analytics. But what is it about the numbers that loves Michigan State so much?
They're pretty good at everything. There's no Achilles heel where you look at them and say, like, they're really bad at something. So when teams have a deficiency, that drags down their statistical metrics, and that's what KenPom is based on. KenPom is based on, taking efficiencies both offensively and defensively, and then averaging them out, and then you get a total for each category, because they're not really bad in anything, and they kind of hang in there, and they have athleticism across the board. They use that athleticism to be pretty good at everything, and that keeps them kind of in that range of between offensively around 40 and defensively kind of in the top 20.
That's very interesting. Very interesting. I think this Michigan State team all season long, like you said, they have been kind of good at everything. And I've worried about their front court most of the year. I was excited when Xavier Booker was getting his start against Ohio State just a couple weeks ago, but we haven't seen him starting since then. And in this game, trying to figure it out really fast, how many minutes he played. He didn't play very much from what I saw. He only got 10 minutes in this game. So I don't know what to make of this Michigan State team in some ways. I'm glad, that like they're good at everything, I guess, to kind of help their scores and things like that. But this Northwestern team, in my mind, is kind of the story here now, where they don't have Ty Berry, they don't have Matthew Nicholson in this game, and those are obviously big pieces for them to lose. And Ty Berry's out for the entire season. We'll see what happens with Matthew Nicholson coming up here. As they said, they're going to reevaluate him later on. But I mean, Sonny, if we're talking about just like on the court, do you have major concerns for Northwestern going into the Big Ten tournament and the NCAA tournament if they make it?
Yeah. I mean, Northwestern as a team is not overly talented. They have one of the best players in the Big Ten, if not the country, and a guy you can give the ball to at the end. But losing your second and third or fourth best player on a team that isn't exactly loaded with 4 or 5 stars, it's going to be a struggle for them. So, I mean, I think they're in. Jason will let us know if they're comfortably in or not. But I think if I were a Northwestern fan right now, I'm feeling a little uneasy. But, if you're a Northwestern fan, I think the goal is always just to kind of make the tournament. So, how you progress from that point on, it might just be a little extra icing on the cake.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to have to go small to combat these things. And Nick Martinelli started at their 4 spot today, and he's only 6'7". So even if you want to, go with a lineup where he's featured as the big man, it's not very likely that he's going to offer you much size against some of the better guys. And the 2 other guys that they played that were the tallest, Preston and who's the other one? Hunger. They're 6'9" and 6'10", which, good for them. They're a little bit taller. However, they only combined for about 20 minutes in this game. So at the end of the day, Northwestern really needs to get Matthew Nicholson back. And Ryan Langborg, obviously, he did really well in the tournament last year for Princeton, so he can be a spark plug there. But it's just interesting to see the way that this team is operating right now. So, Jason, one more question for you with in regards to Northwestern. We'll obviously talk more about them a little bit later on. However, what does this loss mean for Northwestern going forward with their tournament chances?
Yeah, I think they're in. I think they have enough wins to get them in. One of the wins that they had early in the season, back really the first week of the season, was that home win over Dayton, and now that's goal, right? Dayton's had a really, really good year in the A-10. The Northwestern's ceiling, and it's a bit like Nebraska, is going to be limited for 2 reasons. One, Sonny, as you mentioned, the loss of Barry, the committee is going to realize that he's not coming back, and they have not been the same team since he's been gone. So that's one strike against them. And the other one is this: when your non-conference schedule is in the 300s, and there's a sitting at 331 entering today, the committee says you didn't play anybody, and you didn't play anybody on purpose. And typically what the committee has done historically is if you're on the bubble, you don't get in. And if you have a seed, they dock you a seed line. And that's the reality of it. The committee is a guardian of the game in a lot of ways. And they want relevant games in November to December for the non-conference to be a relevant sport then. And when you don't play those games, they typically dock you in March.
Wow, that's crazy. I know Northwestern had that Dayton win. We were looking at that a little bit early on in the year, and that Purdue win is huge for them as well. But literally just 2 days later, not 2 days later, 2 weeks later, they lose to Chicago State at home. I mean, how much did that Chicago State loss affect them, Jason?
Yeah, that's probably, like a 1.5 seed line loss. It's about a 16. It's that bad because when you're dealing with teams that typically sit in that, if you're trying to get in that 6 and 7, seed range, they don't lose to quad 4 teams. You just don't have that. It's when you get into that 9, back end of 9, 10, 11 seed range. That's when you at quad 3 losses and a quad 4 loss start to slip in. So I think they're in. I think they're safe. but they might be one of those teams you look at on Selection Sunday and say, oh man, I thought they were going to be a 9, and they end up on, the back end of a 10 line, again, because of the non-conference and how they're starting to slide a little bit without Barry.
Thanks for listening to the Big Ten Huddle. Please do like and subscribe. We appreciate that. If this was your first time listening, we are the Big Ten Huddle. We cover all things Big Ten football and basketball. We have a long episode every Sunday, Tuesday, and Wednesday night, all at 9 o'clock. So come in, check us out, get in the chat, let us know what you're thinking. We would love to have you join us and learn more about the Big Ten.